So I wanted to talk about this article because I thought this was a very interesting article. This is a movement that I should know more about, and I don't know more about it. And it's called the anti-work movement. And this is a movement of people who are leaving the workforce for good, not temporarily, not because they're, taking a moment to regroup. These are people that are out. They're done. They don't want to come back. And that's kind of interesting that they've had that epiphany over the last 12 months, and they've decided that it's not a specific job they don't like, it's any job. They don't want to do anything. And there's part of me that respects that. I can really kind of get into that. But then what do you do on like day 3 of that? It's, day 1 and 2 were all planned out. And then day 3, you start going, wait a minute. A lot of humans get self-worth from their job. I know that is a terribly controversial thing to say now. And I know that people think that if humans were freed from the need of having to work, then they would just be beautiful, magical creatures that would, during the pandemic, everybody was like, well, if people didn't have to work, they would go out and start community gardens and they would do this and do that. And okay, during the pandemic, everybody was off. I didn't see any community gardens. I didn't really see anyone planting anything. And I'm not saying people should work in these shitty conditions and not get paid and get ripped off, which is what's happening. And I'm not saying you should have this massive chasm between certain people that work and other people that work in terms of how much they get paid. But the idea that you could get rid of all work is interesting to me. I don't want to discount it immediately, but I know a lot of people that don't work and aren't doing well. And I don't mean just financially. I mean in every conceivable way. Friends of mine that don't work are on the internet all the time, way too much, almost as much as me, and it's my job. They don't seem happier. They're not in better relationships because they don't work. They don't have better relationships with their family. They're certainly not planting any community gardens. They're not doing much in their community at all. Friends I know that don't work kind of become angry, paranoid people that spend all their time online figuring out why it is that they feel the way that they do. This is my own personal experience. In the same way that friends of mine that work too much are also kind of anxiety-ridden, miserable people. So the anti-work article is interesting. This is from Insider, great publication. And what does this say? What are people doing here? It says, inside the rise of anti-work, a worker strike that wants to turn the labor shortage into a new American dream. This is like the article that Bloomberg ran that said, hey, the stores don't have any stuff in them. Maybe that's good. And Bloomberg, the guy who runs Bloomberg is Mike Bloomberg, billionaire. Look up Mike Bloomberg's net worth. It's like $70 billion or more. This is the guy that ran for president.
$59 billion.
Wow. Well, he's in the middle class. I forgot. $59 billion. He runs the publication, and Bloomberg is saying they have this article. You should find the article where it's basically like, hey, Americans may need to live like Europeans, and that's pretty damn cool. Maybe that's not the worst thing, that you go to the store and the shelves are half full.
Yeah, supply chain shortages are constraining U.S. consumers' endless appetite for buying whatever they want whenever they want. It's about time.
Yeah, like eggs. The endless appetite for things.
After all, Americans haven't always acted like this. We've entered an age of overabundance. We consume much more than we used to and more than other countries. So they're kind of shaming us into...
Well, here's the deal. We absolutely consume too much. We're too fat. We eat too much.
The houses are too big.
Everything's too big. But the way to fight that probably is some type of spiritual renaissance where people realize that consumption in and of itself is ultimately empty and hollow, and then they need to involve themselves in more meaningful activities where they can get more out of life. That's the hard way to do it and the sustainable way. Just walking into a store and not having things doesn't seem like a real... People are still going to consume just whatever they can find. These are also the people that go, fat is great. You eat whatever you want, whenever you want it. And then they're like, maybe Americans should start living like Europeans. Well, you know what that means? Not being fat slobs. But I thought that was good. Fatness is good. It's not unhealthy. Don't think it. Being 500 pounds is healthy and great and beautiful. And everybody, well, how do you get to be 500 pounds? Consuming shit. So if you say, well, we should stop consuming, what do you mean by that? Do you mean Americans should stop buying treadmills? No, you mean that people should hey, how about one loaf of bread for the week for the family? That's kind of how I read it. You don't need all the new gadgets and gizmos, a lot of them food related. But it's weird to get this article from Bloomberg. It's weird to have a bunch of billionaires go, yeah, the stores are bare. The prices of gas is up, so just drive less. Hey, you can't afford gas? Maybe you should don't go there, that place you want to go. Why don't you go to, hey, you want to go see your mother? See her less. It's very condescending and strange to tell people that they should adjust their habits when billionaires and people worth hundreds of millions of dollars have only gotten richer, have only bought more jets, have only bought more property, can only do more things, and people that aren't in that bracket can't do anything, and those people are told it's good.
They tell people to go on long bike rides rather than just drive.
Go on a bike ride with your kids on the highway. Take your children on a bike ride on the side of the road and go to the grocery store. It's good for you. Maybe you'll all die, and we could stop hearing your mouths. Whitney Webb's coming back on to talk about this, the Great Reset. And I know that a lot of people have dismissed that as a conspiracy, and maybe parts of it are, but saying that this is restructuring the economy is not a conspiracy. It seems pretty damn accurate. Read a paragraph or two of this article about what's going to happen in the world when nobody works.
Well, this is a new lifestyle. The work-free lifestyle is what they call it.
Great.
A rising movement.
I'm excited. I've been living it for years.
So this is how it starts. It says, Larry had a vision.
Shannon remembers when I used to have a job. I used to come in with a tour bus jacket from giving tours on a double-decker bus, and then I would come do the podcast. Shannon remembers that. And I would come in every day and think I had a new disease, and I would Google, and I burned my mouth, and then I'd Google sore mouth, and it would say you have, some a disease that's only transmitted by the South African baboon spider. And I'd be like, fuck. Because work does make you lose your mind a little bit. So I'm in the middle here. I'm not crazy work, but I don't know if we'd maybe we should do something.
This is how it begins. It says, Larry had a vision after he graduated college. He and his then wife were going to be a power couple. They were going to actualize their American dream. They'd buy a house in the suburbs and go on vacation every 2 years.
That's not a power couple, Larry, you dumb fuck. The Clintons are a power couple. Jeffrey and Ghislaine are power couples. You just wanted to be ordinary, regular Americans. See, this is my problem with everything. Nobody questions anybody's premises, so immediately we're starting out with a guy who's probably crazy because he thinks a power couple is a couple that can afford coffee in the suburbs. That is not true. If the article had started, Larry, when he graduated college, wanted to be a power couple. He wanted to grab a woman that he wasn't sexually attracted to, get married for money, rise through the ranks of the corporate world, and then eventually go into politics, all the while participating in many nefarious activities, including the rape, torture, and sacrifice of young children in order to build loyal bonds with other members of said class. At that point, Larry and his wife would begin to redesign themselves as folksy nationalists who just cared about America, all the while going home and eating the flesh of children in his stew. That would make sense. So what did he want to do? He wanted to work and live in the burbs. Well, why wasn't he able to do that?
Well, he was a maintenance technician in South Carolina.
Okay.
And so the vision of the perfect life eventually shattered.
Where's his wife?
She's from Colorado.
Right, but keep reading.
Okay. His then wife saw through the illusion of work, he said, and quit to take care of their children and her elderly father. It took him a little longer to get there. Let me scroll down here. So now it says,
Keep reading.
When he got laid off from a seasonal job there, he moved back to South Carolina to be with his mother. Now he lives simply in a 20-foot trailer in the backyard.
What about the kids and the wife?
The kids and the wife, the ex-wife and children are in Colorado right now, it seems like.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting about this is, like, you forget he has a wife and kids. Like, he's like, I'm a simple man with simple pleasures. And I just go and I want to live with my mother. It makes it sound nice, but he left his wife and children.
Yes. Yeah.
He's choosing to not support his kids.
It seems that way.
He's choosing to not support his wife and kids. And this was celebrated as a new movement in work. And they're like, Gen Z has defined this new movement of giving the power back to the workers. No, it's called being a deadbeat dad. It's not a new movement. It's pretty fucking old. Ask Lewis about it. His dad got stabbed. That's not technically his fault. But his mom did smack. But his mom kind of raised him pretty well. For someone that was on heroin, she did like a good job. But my point is that being a deadbeat dad's not like a new thing. I read this article. They're trying to dress this up as like this is a new revolutionary balance of power shift between employer and employee. This isn't a guy that unionized his job and got more benefits for people. This is a guy that said, I don't like my children and wife. I want to go live in a trailer and drink.
Yeah, it says, I doubt he supports them because it says here, he says, I don't have any expenses. I don't need any money. I can survive without it.
Right. I don't have any expenses. Fuck those kids. And they write about this like this is a great new thing. Living in a trailer with your mother is good. The article is written that this is good. This is what they want. Understand who writes these articles. They're dumb. They're journalists. They're idiots. But the people that own these publications put all this out for like a reason. They're like, it's good to not work. It's good to live in a trailer with your mother. It's great when you go to the grocery store and there's nothing there to eat. Now you're living like a European. Isn't this great? They ran that article in the beginning of the pandemic to go, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Isn't it great? You have nothing and you live with your mother in a trailer and your family is gone and you don't have any money to give them Christmas presents and fuck Christmas anyway. That's some capitalist horseshit. You just stay in your trailer and every now and then wander to the grocery store. We'll give you a voucher for food that won't be there anyway. Isn't it good? Now you live like a European. And Europeans don't live like that, by the way. Europeans work, not all of them, but like they go to the cafe, they get food, they smoke cigarettes, they have sex, they don't like Me Too. So if you want to really be European, you got to stop with the horse shit. Women in Europe like getting thrown against a wall. That's a fact. As long as you have like a nice pasta dinner and everything, they enjoy it. France literally came out during Me Too and went, no, we don't do that here. We like Me Too. We enjoy it. Cut it out. We like fucking and not working. So in America, in this sexless, autistic horror culture that we've created, the only thing to do literally is work. We have a sexless, autistic, horrible culture that eschews any type of like family or bonds outside of work. So we're telling people don't have families, don't fuck each other, don't do anything, and also don't work.
Well, Larry goes, I really don't want to work anymore. I don't want to have any meetings, no deadlines, no goals, no quarter, no seminar. I don't want none of that stuff no more.
Oh, well, that sounds lovely. Maybe it's not good that we have a culture where people are just built to work, but if you want to start living like Europeans, understand that their culture is about family, which we don't fucking have. We take our elderly people, we throw them in nursing homes where people beat them. As soon as we're of age, we run away from our families. I know I did. To get successful. In Europe, they live with their families. The family's a thing. The family name matters. People fuck and have children. In America, people have one child when they're like 40. The kid's a furry. The parents are like insane. That's not... Then you got to work. What are you going to do? Go home and deal with your furry kid? Your kid who's a furry? And your kid's only a furry because you're working so much you don't even know what the hell's going on in their life. So then you got to go back to work. You're like, I've already fucked this one up. This one's a furry.
Yeah.
In Europe, they're lazy, slothful people that enjoy life because they fuck and eat carbs. Go on for the rest of this article, please.
So here's the retort from one moderator of the subreddit. He says, a lot of people mistake anti-work for being lazy and like nothing ever has to get done, says rock cellist. But the truth of the matter about anti-work and everything surrounding it is that obviously things have to get done, but the current structure in which things get done and the way that capital flows as they get done is unfair and should be non-existent.
Well, it's unfair, but the idea of it being non-existent is a bit of a stretch. How exactly does that work? It's non-existent. Let's just get rid of it. In favor of what?
Right.
What exactly would be the other option? You know? Mm-hmm. I think it's unfair, and I think there's ways to make it more fair. There's another person who left their job because they couldn't take out their phone.
Yeah, so Cade, a Gen Z worker in Kansas, is one of the people who turned to r/.
Cade.
Yeah, with a K. He turned to r/anti-work and posted, after he quit his job as a service worker. He had been considering quitting for a while, but he was pushed over the edge after his boss posted a sign telling workers they couldn't use their phones during shifts.
What a tyrant. By the way, I love these words. He was pushed over the edge because a worker said, get off your phone and work. Like a boss. A boss said, get off your phone and work. And he's like, he thinks it's the grapes of wrath. I mean, this is insane.
I never really...
Because he can't go a whole day without looking at furry porn. He's watching furries fuck, and the boss is like, get him a coffee or whatever.
Kate says, I never really see anybody not doing work and on their phone. He added he didn't think management should have the right to take his personal property. So then he started seeing posts from r/anti-work a few months ago, and that reading people's accounts of quitting and learning about the ways they're rethinking work factored into his own decision to quit. He's already had at least one interview for a new job and has a little bit of savings built up to keep him afloat in the meantime.
Good for you, Cade. Cade, we stand with you.
Cade says, I think it felt like I could be like a bigger part of a movement. This really is a movement to these people.
It's a movement.
They're 1 million strong.
Yeah, they'll be more than 1 million strong soon. Nobody will work. Everybody will be. I just love the idea of it. I love all these articles that are all coming out together. Work's bad. Because, by the way, work means you have money. Money means you don't have to listen to what the government tells you to do. That is no good. They don't want that.